Good evening again. I now take great pleasure in welcoming Gayle Garner Roski. Gayle is a native of Los Angeles. Some would argue that she's one of our most effective ambassadors for the city, as well as an accomplished artist and illustrator, world traveler, civic leader, and philanthropist. She's been a member of the Master since 2008, and we are very proud to consider her a friend, a very close one. Gayle?
Thank you. Good evening. It's my pleasure to be here with you tonight. And I'd like to thank the Autry Museum and all of the people who support this wonderful institution. I'm honored and humbled once again to have my work displayed in the Masters of the American West exhibition. It really is this country's premier Western art show, and I feel privileged to be part of it. I also want to thank you for supporting these extraordinary artists who participate in this annual showcase. Here in Los Angeles, we are located at an incredible intersection of history and culture. This is the gateway of the Wild West to the modern world. It's a global center of culture and commerce. We're in a city that's very proud of its past, but always has its eyes focused on the future. And you can see that even here in this museum, on one hand, it's named after Gene Autry, whose legend was formed as Hollywood was finding its own identity, reaching across the nation and around the world through film and television. And he did something that no one else has ever done. He's the only person to receive stars in 5 categories on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. And yet, I find it very interesting that his legacy has been carried into the present and the future through works of art. Art that has captivated our imagination as much as it has captured the history and mythology of the American West. In many ways, my own personal history is forever connected to the history of this city and the region. Many of the paintings, and I'm showing you now the Los Angeles Gallery, or part of it, are inspired by the stories and the memories, the people and the landscapes of my childhood growing up in Hancock Park. Even then, I think I intuitively understood that the West has always carried with it a special spirit, a distinctive disposition. For people from around the world, this region has always represented something greater than just the physical location. It is a place where people pursue their passions and discover their dreams. It is a place where people from different cultures come together to find common ground. And it's a place where people from distant regions come to seek fame and fortune, or sometimes both. All of us here today are the descendants of those pioneers who braved the weather and the wilderness, leaving behind the old ways in search of a new life. Mark Twain once made this observation about California. He wrote, "It was a splendid population, for all the slow, sleepy, sluggish brain sloths stayed at home. You never find that sort of people among pioneers. You cannot build pioneers out of that sort of material." It is that pioneering spirit that compels us to rediscover, reimagine, reinvent this city over and over again. And I believe the American West is more than a physical place. It symbolizes an intellectual realm that is unlike any other, a land of freedom and prosperity, of unbridled possibilities, a place where if you work hard and play your cards right, the next gold rush or the next land rush may be right around the corner. A place where we breathe in the history all around us and the pioneer spirit still runs through our veins. I think all of these factors have informed my work and my artistry journey. And art museums have played an important part in my own personal journey of life. Artists are a rare breed. They have the ability to make what is regular seem magical. They can turn the simplest still lifes into an expression of divine. And I missed one. Oh. Artists seek the darkest shadows and the brightest light and can inspire humanity to what is highest within them. So much of the world lives in gray. Artists live in color. They live in their own perspective, and they always live in their own passion. Marcel Proust said, "The journey of discovery lies not in seeing new landscapes, but in having new eyes. Would that we could greet each day with new eyes and always see the beauty that surrounds us." But life tends to intervene. It's been said that the life of an artist is a continuous journey, the path long and never ending. For me, that has been the case. Becoming an artist has been my dream since childhood. I remember being 3 years old and my mother putting me on the porch. I have a vivid memory of the amazement of seeing bright colors that appeared on the blank pages as the morning sun streamed in. I could occupy myself for hours and my mother never had to check on me. I was in heaven. For all of my life, I maintained my love of art, but it would be decades before I had the courage to proclaim myself as an artist. When I attended college at USC, I studied fine arts and I specialized in design. And there it was that I discovered a new love. During the very first week of my freshman year at my very first Troyland party, and the very first day they allowed rock and roll on the campus, I caught the eye of a very handsome upperclassman. And that upperclassman eventually would become my husband, Ed. So, at a tender age of 20, I got married and set aside my dream of becoming an artist. For the next 3 decades, art was always a part of my life, but it took a back seat as to the many responsibilities that come from raising a family. And then, at the age of 50, I felt like something was missing. There's something about reaching a milestone like a 50th birthday that makes us very reflective. I realized that what I felt like was a shadow to my children, a shadow to my husband, and I wondered if I would simply be lost in the shadows of life. But it was also at the age of 50 that I was forced to face one of my biggest fears: cancer. To this day, it's amazing how a single word can take our breath away. It was frightening, but I dealt with it, with my diagnosis, the only way I knew how: through art. Painting became a form of therapy. I would paint the good cells marching into battle against the cancer cells until eventually the battle was won. And I'm happy to say that therapy worked, and I've been cancer-free ever since. But the experience did more than just heal my body. It also empowered my mind. Dealing with a fatal disease has a funny way of forcing you to focus. You realize that what matters and what doesn't, what's important and what's not. And from that moment on, I have embraced every moment of my life. It was only after facing cancer that I finally had the courage to declare myself an artist. So I decided to take the advice of another artist, Virginia Woolf. I had never had a room or studio of my own, so I coveted one of my kids' bedrooms and made it into an art studio. And my first series of paintings were ribbons and bows, and I was drawn to their vibrant colors and their sensuous curves. And because I've always felt that it is the presentation of a gift that is the celebration of the event, that no matter the present, the care and the thought that goes into wrapping it is the celebration of the person. As I look back on my work now, be it cityscapes or ice cream sundaes, it is always about celebration. If nothing else, the celebration of color. I never gray my colors. In fact, I gave up mixing my colors long ago. I mix them on the paper and let the painting define itself. While I always try to capture the full spectrum of life's vivid colors, I also embrace the exciting adventure of artistic exploration. Most artists excel at a specific technique. I've become known for my close-up detailed work, but I think it's important to experiment with different techniques and not to be concerned with the results. To be free to explore, because I think both art and travel are about exploration, and exploration requires you to be wholly present with no desired outcome. It's been said that one does not discover new lands without consenting to lose sight of the shore for a very long time. And there is a special sense of discovery in all forms of artistic endeavor. Unknown territory, being in a blank page or a foreign land, teaches us to be in the here and now. And being in the present moment, our eyes are open to each moment in a new light. In addition to art, my other great passion is travel. I remember back in Girl Scouts, or was it Brownies, when we'd all go on a lion hunt. Traveling still feels like going on a lion hunt. When we leave behind all of the things that bind and define us, we have the freedom to contact the child inside of us. We can see everything in new and delight in not knowing what tomorrow will hold. Also, I think in traveling to unknown vistas, we learn so much about ourselves. In foreign environments, we are made to be more open. We must release judgment to negotiate people and cultures that are different from our own, and thereby find different resources in ourselves. I'm very fortunate to be married to a lifelong adventurer who loves to travel, and together we have seen incredible landscapes that can take your breath away and feed your soul. When exploring the world, many people record their adventures by putting pen to paper and writing a journal or a diary. But I like to document the details of our journey with the delicate strokes of my paintbrush. And each day, I carve out time to create at least one painting. And some of these adventures have taken us to places few people have ever seen. For example, I once painted the Titanic as we descended 12,500 feet to the bottom of the ocean in a Russian submarine. And there I am. And if you would like to see, and here's one of the sketchbook images of Captain Smith's bathroom. But if you'd like to see more of the images of my sketchbook, I want to invite you to go to my website, GayleGarnerRoski.com. And on the left-hand side, you'll see a list of my galleries, and at the bottom, you'll find a link that goes to my sketchbooks. For me, all of the events of my life are like the rich colors on a painter's palette. When I blend together all the experiences, they take on a life of their own on the watercolor paper. And I have many different sources to draw from. In addition to being an artist and an adventurer, I am also a mother of 3 and the grandmother of 8. I love to create everything myself, my home, my clothes, jewelry, every detail of my life. I've painted hundreds of watercolors. I've illustrated 4 children's books and a cookbook. I've designed scarves, greeting cards, and a host of other artistic creations. Picasso said, "The artist is a receptacle for emotions that come from all over the place, from the sky, from the earth, from a scrap of paper, from a passing shape, or from a spider's web." My goal is to be open to the inspiration that is all around me and to welcome creativity into every aspect of my life. I am a watercolorist because I believe watercolor is magic. You never know exactly how it will come out. You cannot rework what you've already done. It's important for the work to grow organically, to surprise you, to come to life, to show you what it wants to be. I love watercolors because they have a way of being unpredictable, and yet they can transform us by taking us to an instant in time and holding it still so that we may reflect on it and be moved by it. In my paintings, I also use pattern borders and acrylic frames, which act as a window, inviting the viewer into my world. And I always hope my world and work touches you, moves you, even inspires you. Capturing all these moments has been a thrilling adventure, and so we begin a journey. In my Western art gallery, both this year and in the past, you'll find paintings of cows. I love cows. And these are lassoed cows. Whoops, that one. And then that one. And cows being separated from their babies, mothers and babies, which is an incredibly emotional experience. And these are cows in Tejon Ranch, and that's Tejon Ranch. The last 2 years, I've painted horses, and I've been inspired by the horse's beauty and majesty, and I think they are so symbolic of the spirit of freedom and adventure we all have inside of us. Andalusian horses, an exquisite example. They are gorgeous. I had the pleasure of going to the ranch of Nadine Tilley, the person who raises and owns the current Trojan mascot of Traveler. And Nadine is sitting right there, and this is her beautiful ranch. It was a true joy to paint a breed that was once prized by kings and queens because every movement of Andalusian displays extraordinary nobility. Now, I also had the honor of painting one of the greatest thoroughbreds in history, American Pharoah. You'll recall that American Pharoah won the Triple Crown for the first time in 37 years and became the first horse to ever win the Grand Slam of American horse racing. There was something else that happened while I was at Santa Anita photographing American Pharoah. I think artists have in common with cultural anthropologists because we're observers. We notice trends in our society. As I was capturing images of this amazing thoroughbred, I noticed all of these people taking pictures with their cell phones and posing for selfies. And I thought, that's so much part of our culture at the moment. Later, Ed and I were watching the Pope on television at St. Patrick's Cathedral. And again, instead of shaking hands or asking for a blessing or kissing his ring, people were taking photos and selfies with their phones. To me, it seems so strange that they were witnessing history and yet they were missing the moment because they were trying to record their own personal histories. But my favorite selfie moment was in Paris. I had traveled to France once again to view the Mona Lisa at the Louvre. And because of the mystery of the Mona Lisa's smile, there's always a line waiting to view the world's most famous painting. But on this particular trip, I realized something had changed. The painting was the same as when Da Vinci finished and the final brushstroke some 500 years ago. But the behavior of the people in line was different, dramatically different. Crowded into the room were people from all over the world, and yet they were all doing the same thing. Their arms were raised above their heads, their cell phones were in their hands, and they were taking pictures of each other and of themselves. And it wasn't just a handful of people, it was hundreds of them. Looking around the room, I thought to myself, when did we become less interested in Emily Post and more interested in Facebook posts? The advantage of being an artist that has experiences become material, and we get to use our work to comment on society. So, this incident inspired me to create this painting called Mona Who at the Louvre. You'll be able to see these two selfie paintings for yourselves at the Gold Medal Show of the California Art Club, which will be showing here at the Autry in April. My life and my artwork are often woven together with the colorful threads of spirituality. Picasso said the purpose of art is washing the dust of daily life off your souls. And you'll see the theme of spirituality reappearing again and again, especially in my Dreamcatcher series. Dreamcatchers act as a bridge between the spirit world and the real world, their feathers flying from one dimension to another. And they are based on an ancient legend from the Native American culture. The Native American people tell a story about the spider woman who took care of the children and the people of their nation. When the nation spread to the far corners of North America, it became difficult for the spider woman to keep watch over all the children. So that's when the tribe's mothers and grandmothers began to weave these magical webs to filter out the bad dreams and allow only good thoughts to enter the minds of all the children. They believed that the dream catcher actually changes the person's dream, removing the bad thoughts, allowing the good thoughts and dreams to slide down the feathers to the person sleeping below. Being an artist has opened up so many doors and opened me up to so many possibilities. And I look forward to the challenges that allow me to explore new territory by discovering new tools and new talent. One of the most interesting recent ventures was this very special project for the Los Angeles Cathedral. This past December, Pope Francis declared 2016 a holy year of mercy for Catholics around the world. Every cathedral was asked to erect an archway of mercy, and I designed an elegant 12-foot archway to complement the architecture of the LA Cathedral and to complement the beautiful bronze doors designed by Robert Graham. And I feel humbled and grateful that at the beginning of each Sunday Mass, a priest at the cathedral begins the service by blessing the archway of mercy. While I believe it's important for a spiritual community, it is also essential for the greater Los Angeles community. That's why I'm so proud to be part of this large public art display in the city. You're probably familiar with the Community of Angel project. Back in 2002, I designed a 6-foot angel sculpture. Then some 100 artists displayed their talents by decorating the angels in a wide array of vivid colors. And I created this hot fudge sundae angel. Some of these angels are still out there. Now, the angels are back. And this time, I developed a new design. The sculptures that were once made of fiberglass are now composed of a new plastic material with a foam core center. And they are constructed with two-dimensional boards that slide together to create a three-dimensional piece. During this summer or fall in 2016, I hope you'll take the time to see these angels displayed on Grand Park, which stretches from City Hall to the Los Angeles Music Center. California Community Foundation has created this public art for the citizens of Los Angeles. Now, my other current project emerged from a New Year's resolution. In 2000, I started a series of paintings I called Los Angeles in the Millennium. I opened this talk with some of those paintings, and here are some more. As I became involved in this project of downtown, I began to see areas with new perspectives. I noticed the mix of history and artistry, along with the vivid colors and vibrant cultures that have transformed our city over time. And I wanted to capture a snapshot of that history by preserving the people and places of the city from 2000 to 2020, when the series will be completed. So my goal for this year is to start the process of putting together a coffee table book that brings the best of my Los Angeles gallery into one bound volume that you can hold in your hand. And in this way, I can take on a new challenge that stretches my own creativity. Before I wrap up, I want to talk briefly about the importance of art in our lives. All of us encounter art in many different ways. Some of us are creators, enjoying the process of bringing new artwork to life. Others of us are observers, admiring the ability of the artist to capture a fleeting moment in time and allowing us to relive the experiences through our emotions and imagination. And yet, others are supporters, helping people hone their artistry through philanthropy. Now, the word philanthropy comes from the Greek. It actually means love of humanity. I think there is no better way to show our love of humanity than by supporting the arts. One of the ways I enjoyed giving back to help the next generation of artists, I spend so long finding my own voice that I want this younger generation to discover and develop their talents as soon as possible. And we have some incredibly talented young artists in Southern California. For the past 6 years, I've worked closely with the Los Angeles Cathedral to showcase the works of this new generation. Right now, until May 1st, at the Cathedral, I produced a Lenten art show for 75 students from 15 Catholic high schools in the Los Angeles area. These artists were asked to create a spiritual painting, and then they were asked to describe their spiritual journey in words underneath the artwork. This is a great opportunity for these students to display their talents and a wonderful thing for them to put on their resumes for college. In this new year, I also encourage each one of you to notice that the art in your own lives. When you pay closer attention to the beauty of the world around you, it will show you a brilliant array of colors. You learn to see the little details that you might have overlooked before. You learn to slow down and see the world you've been missing all this time. Well, if I've learned anything in my 74 years of experience, it's how important it is to enjoy these moments, which will eventually become memories. At the end of our lives, none of us will remember how many emails we answered, or how many deals we closed, or how many hours we spent getting from one place to another on the freeway. But we will remember are the subtle moments when a certain slant of sunlight illuminates a world to us, when the physical landscape around us transforms the emotional landscape inside of us, when the look of a loved one broke our hearts or lifted our spirits. Art captures all these moments. It freezes them in time. It reminds us of who we are, and it inspires us with a vision of who we can become. All of us, no matter our age or interests or abilities, can look at the world through a window of wonder. We can open the opportunities and the possibilities that the world is presenting to us at every moment. Albert Einstein, who was a great scientist with a great appreciation for the arts, said, "There are only two ways to live your life. One is as though there is nothing is a miracle. The other is as though everything is a miracle." It's your choice. I encourage you to live as though everything is a miracle. When you do that, the world will offer its secrets to you. And the longer you look, the more layers will be unveiled to you. As you do this, be patient, follow your interests, pursue your passions, and learn every day. The writer Natalie Goldberg wrote, "Trust in what you love. Continue to do it, and it will take you where you need to go." And I hope you will have the courage to take your own journey, just like I have. Now, thank you for inviting me to share my thoughts with you tonight. Thank you for supporting the Autry Museum of the American West. And thank you for supporting the arts in Southern California. That's it. But if you have any questions, I'm open for questions, I think. Yes?
Gail, your work is just beautiful.
Thank you.
Thank you for sharing with us why watercolors is special to you.
Mm-hmm.
Watercolors to me seems more temporary, and oil seems more permanent.
Yeah, sure. Absolutely. Well, in 100 years ago, that was true. Um, all paint today comes from the same pigment. It's all starts with a dry pigment, and it's the binder that makes the difference. So watercolor is gum arabic, oil is oil, and acrylic is plastic. They are all permanent. The paper, of course, has some loss, but not today. Today, watercolor paper is made, it is such fine paper. It's really as permanent as oil and acrylic, but it's different to work with. And I have done all of them. I just, as I said, there's something magical about watercolor to me. You never know quite what you're going to get, and it kind of reveals itself. And sometimes I'll be painting 8 hours in a day, and all of a sudden I'll wake up. I mean, really, I go into a trance. It's a meditation, and it's been painted itself. I mean, that doesn't happen all the time. Sometimes I'm struggling, but really, it's so much magic. When I discovered watercolor, I mean, in school and everything, I didn't do watercolor. And when I discovered it, and then when I perfected it, fairly perfected it, maybe never perfected, but it just had a life of its own, and the colors. I'm into color. I love color, and there is nothing that gives you more color than the transparency of watercolor on white, and but it is permanent. It's just as permanent as oil and acrylic. So, any other questions? Mm-hmm. Say that again. Failures? Oh, I've got drawers full of them. Um, nothing is. I don't worry about it. I just do it. I don't. I guess I don't. I don't worry about those things. Well, wait a minute. You know why I paint? I love the process. It isn't about the outcome. The outcome is a growth thing that I'm learning, learning, learning. I'll never stop learning. But I like to spend my time creating. Almost doesn't matter what I'm creating. That's it for me. That is so much fun. I can do it all day, every day, and never get tired of it. I think it's important to do what you like to spend your time at. The process, if you want to be a golfer, you play golf. My husband is a worker, and he works all the time. That gives me a lot of time to do the art. So I'm grateful. And then he comes and critiques it. Sort of like John Garrity used to do. He used to critique it. I loved it. Any other questions? Okay.
Thank you very, very much, Gayle. I appreciate everything that you had to say, certainly as the director of this institution, and what you have contributed here. Some of my response, I must say, is also purely personal. I happen to be the son of an artist myself. My dad was a painter. I'm also a citizen of the Cheyenne Arapaho Nation of Oklahoma, and my dad was the side of the family who was Cheyenne. And so I especially appreciate the very last statement you made about the importance of process in the creation of art. And one thing that lots of people fail to get about the creation of native art, or that at least which sits in that category in our minds, is that that was immensely true of them. For native people who were artists, the process was probably more important than the ultimate outcome. And that really is what is necessary, I think, to put together in visual form that which comes from lived experience, which is very much a part of what you do. I must also say that as a Southern Cheyenne, I deeply appreciate what you know about dream catchers and what you're able to say here and put on paper again there. And the last thing is your love of horses, and especially Andalusians. That has great appeal to anybody who's a Plains Indian. But thank you again for being here, for sharing what is a remarkable personal and artistic journey, and quite frankly, which I found spellbinding. So do come back and see us often and again.